Laura, we're ready.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Laura Isdell, co-chair of the the Apply Texas Advisory Committee, and the Dean of Admissions here at Collin College. Today is February 27th, 2024, and it is 10:06 a.m. And I would like to call the Apply Texas Advisory Committee meeting to order. Today we have a few guests joining us. So welcome Laura Brennan, Assistant Commissioner for the College and Career Advising, Molly Gully, Senior Director of Advising Strategy with the Coordinating Board. And I'd also like to welcome the Apply Texas Development Team, who will have the opportunity to introduce themselves during the upcoming webinar preview. Before we begin, I'm going to announce a few changes to the agenda, which you should have received. We will be moving items number 6 and 7, preview of the Apply Texas rollover and technical changes webinar, and feedback discussion up on the agenda after discussion on the new payment process. Item 5 will then proceed. I will now take roll call of the committee members to confirm a quorum is present to conduct the meeting. When I call your name, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself by stating your name, title, and institution. So we'll just go through alphabetically, and I have Tammy Adams first. No, Tammy? How about Brian Armstrong?
Good morning. I'm Brian Armstrong. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Student Enrollment at Texas Southern University.
Callie Blakely? Tessie? How about Katrina?
Yep, I'm Katrina Brent. I'm with Lamar University, VP Enrollment Management and Marketing.
Awesome. And Jamie? Cynthia?
Sorry, Laura. I think there's a couple that are in a different link, so I'm resending it to the group just in case.
Okay.
So they may be circling back in here shortly.
Okay. Do you want me to pause?
No, just go. You can go through the list, and then we'll try to see if they can join us, and then catch them when they join.
Okay. So I think we're on Cynthia. Yes.
Cindy Hess, Director of Admissions, Tarleton State University. And I did see on mine that a Teams popped up separate to this. So there, I guess, were 2 meeting links.
Okay.
Yeah. We're resending the Zoom link, and we popped that in the chat. So we should have a few others join here shortly, but you can go ahead, Laura.
Okay. Maria?
Maria Juarez, Director of Enrollment Services at Amarillo College.
Thank you. And Dara?
Sarah Newton, Associate Vice President for Strategic Enrollment, the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley.
And Mary?
Good morning, Mary Pascarella, Associate Director of Graduate Admissions, Sam Houston State University.
What about Catherine?
Good morning, everybody. Catherine Perez, Dean of Enrollment Services at South Plains College.
Michael?
Good morning, everybody. Michael Sanders, Associate Vice President of Enrollment at the University of North Texas.
Christine?
Oh, good morning. Christine Velasquez is unable to join us today. Filling in for her, my name is Jorge Cardenas. I'm the Admissions Counselor 2 for UTEP at the Office of Admissions and Recruitment.
Okay. And Michelle? How about Miguel?
Miguel Waszlewski, Vice Provost of Admissions at the University of Texas at Austin.
And Lou?
Good morning, Lou Waterhouse, Director of Admissions and Enrollment Services, Lone Star College.
And Patty?
Good morning, Patty Young, Dean of Admissions, Records and Testing at Dallas College.
And Priscilla?
Priscilla's not on here.
Okay.
do see a couple others that did join, so if you want to go back through that list.
And we know Beverly's not on. I'm sorry if I repeat your names, because I was not, I know that someone else has taken that for me. So Tammy, did you say it?
Yes.
And
Tammy.
Brian
Yes.
and Callie, Tessie, Katrina. You already said, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I can go again if you want.
Yeah.
We also have Brandy from A&M joining us. She's replacing Michelle Walker.
Okay.
And then she'll be formally going to the board for approval soon, but we do have Brandy. And Brandy, if you want to introduce yourself, and I think Jamie Hansard has also joined the call.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Brandy Enix from Texas A&M University. Sorry, I'm driving in Austin on this call. So I actually just stopped to get on this meeting a couple of minutes ago. So I'm here.
Thank you, Brandy.
Yes.
Good morning. Jamie Hansard, Vice President for Enrollment Management at Texas Tech University.
Did anyone not introduce themselves? Okay, and Claudette, are we good to proceed?
I believe so. We've met quorum.
Okay. All right. Since we have established quorum, sorry, we have some meeting guidelines that I'm going to go through. So since we're meeting virtually, I'm just going to review these rules for the meeting for everybody. So as a reminder, this meeting is an open meeting. It is being broadcast for the public and being recorded for later viewing. Please be sure to mute your microphone when not speaking. A quorum has been established via roll call, as I said. In order to keep quorum, you must keep your camera on at all times. If you're not visible and we are no longer a quorum and we will have to stop then the meeting. There will be time for breaks as needed, but please be sure to return promptly to proceed with the committee business. To manage the committee discussion via Zoom, please unmute and identify yourself before speaking for the record. We ask that you wait for one person to finish before speaking, otherwise comments may be muddled or unclear. Should the conversation become unmanageable, we will direct you to use the raise your hand feature. This can be found if you click on participants icon and you will see 3 buttons toward the bottom of the list. Please raise your hand and lower your hand after you've had time to speak. We will only use this feature if it's needed. For this meeting, when the committee will vote on items, motions will be voted on by raising your hand on the camera and saying aye in favor or no in opposition. At the end of the meeting, please be aware that the meeting is still being recorded. Upon adjournment, we ask that you keep comments limited so that staff can stop the recording. Are there any questions before we move to the next item? All right. Hearing none, then we can move on to agenda item number 2. Agenda item number 2 is approval of the minutes from November 13th, 2023 meeting. So we'll give you some time. You should have already received them. Go ahead and take a minute to review and then let us know if there's any edits or changes that need to be made. I'm just trying to pause to give you guys just a minute. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes? All right. Hearing none, do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes? And you can take another minute if you need to read. And when someone is ready to give a motion, please make sure you state your name for the record.
This is Jamie Hansard with Texas Tech University, and I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
All right, I have a motion made by Jamie. Is there a second?
Miguel
This is-
Oshowski, UT Austin, second.
Awesome. I have a second by Miguel. Members, those in favor, please raise your hand. And we'll do a quick count. Is it 9? Oh, 10. Did you get 10? I'm at 12. Okay. All right, the motion passes and we can move on to agenda number
3.
Thank you. 3. Which is the discussion on the communication strategy. So I'll now turn it over to Laura Brennan, Assistant Commissioner for College and Career Advising for the Coordinating Board, to discuss the item.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to get to connect with y'all today. I know, Claudette, I believe you're going to share PowerPoint. Okay. So first off, again, I'm just so happy to be able to connect with y'all. Thank you for taking your time to be a part of this committee. I know that you have so much on your plate, so we really appreciate your commitment to this. So I want to start by saying, we are committed to improving communication to where all stakeholders feel that they have a say and can contribute input to this process, with especially this committee here. So I wanted to highlight some of the strategy that we have put together moving forward. We've heard feedback from the field, and so this is in response to that. Claudette, is it sharing?
It only, I can't share without going off and not being able to do stuff, but I'm going to share this way. Hopefully you can see that.
Okay, great. So you can just go to the next slide. So I'm going to walk you through just sort of the core components of what our plans are for communication. So we have webinars. So the upcoming webinars are included here. So you'll see we have the application rollover webinar, the support services and onboarding webinar, and a post-launch support webinar. We also have webinars that had occurred in the fall and winter of 23. So we have been sending out, recently we just sent out an invitation to our upcoming webinars, and we also included links to the previous webinars as well. We recognize that there is a lot of information going out. There's a lot of emails. And so, Claudette, if you want to go to the next page. One of the strategies that we're going to employ is to set up a website where all of this information can be found. So it'll be on a web page, actually, sorry. So it'll be on the coordinating board site where we will have a link to all of the previous webinars, opportunities to RSVP for the upcoming webinars, FAQs, and then a point that I wanted to discuss with y'all today is an opportunity to collect contact information. So one of the things that we've realized is that our email listservs that we've used to communicate have not been comprehensive. And so we want to make sure that we're getting the information to the right folks. So we will, on this this page, we will set up a survey which will collect contact information and allow users to opt in to the type of information that they want to receive. So my first question to y'all that I wanted to just pose to the group and get your feedback on is, we were thinking that it would make the most sense for this to be set up to where they select their or they input their name and title, but then also opt into particular types of information they want to receive, with those being technical information, higher ed stakeholder, and K-12 stakeholder. So those are three groups that perhaps you want to select all three to receive all of the information that we're putting out, not only to our K-12 stakeholders, but also to the higher ed technical teams. But I wanted to ask y'all if there was a different organizing setup that you would suggest. And again, this is just so that we get the right folks, the right information, recognizing that on some campuses, maybe that's just one person who would get the technical specifications and then also get the direct student service communications. So I'll just open real quick and get your response. So if you were to send this out to your colleagues, they would be able to select if they wanted to receive the technical information for higher ed stakeholders, information for K-12 stakeholders. Is there a different way that you would organize that? And if so, what would that be? Again, you could multi-select.
If I were this is Mary from Sam Houston State University. If I were a admissions recruiter and part of my job is to work with high school counselors, would that mean they would select the K through 12 stakeholder information? I feel like that audience might not understand.
Great feedback. So I think that this is exactly what we want to talk about. So if we wanted to just segment that, how would you suggest segmenting then?
I think high school counselors, I think of our roles at Sam Houston, but maybe others might want to chime in. So we have undergrad admissions counselors, and then we have folks that work with people on campus.
So I guess one of the things that we were thinking about is there's so many different roles, and and what we don't want to do is like have a whole list of all these different roles, but instead, because we're never going to capture the way that everyone organizes because it's different across campuses. So instead, just like when you opt in to like a newsletter and you're like, I want to hear about K-12 news, or I want to hear about higher ed news, in that same sort of structure, so that we're not calling out the specific roles.
Agree.
And to your point, Mary, we can definitely make sure that there's a definition of what's included in that specific bucket of communication.
I think that would solve that then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, this is Laura Isdell, Collin College. Am I correct in understanding though, when you send the email out, I'll have all three options? Because right now I think I've only seen the technical option and then the administrator option. And I would love as a higher ed administrator to have that high school option, because we promote that amongst our high school counselors as well.
Definitely. So this is something new we're going to set up, and we can, we wanted to connect with y'all to make sure that we're organizing it in the right way. So to be clear, this is not set up yet. We don't have this form live yet. We're going to set it up after this meeting. But yes, you would be able to then say, I want to see all of the technical communications, K-12 communications, and higher ed communications.
Right. And to give some feedback, the list that we've been communicating with is the same list that UT had from their listserv. So that's the main list we've been utilizing. We've also sent out communications to stakeholder groups that we're aware of, like TACRO and SAPUPSI, TACAC, those different groups. We also try to communicate with some other lists that we have internally to make sure that you get communications, but that's sort of the little buckets of lists that we're working from. But I wanted to make sure that you know that the list that we've been operating with is the list we've received from UT. And that does only allow for the two, to your point, Laura Isdell, the two options of administrator or technical. So we're trying to widen that to make sure that any other communications go to the appropriate people and we can tailor it a little bit more specifically.
Great. So are there any other ideas or refinement to organizing in that just simple way? So it's technical, K-12, higher ed.
I just want to clarify, this is Jamie with Texas Tech, Jamie Hanser with Texas Tech. So I just want to clarify to make sure on this website or where you're signing up, it's just going to be going to higher ed or K-12, but we're not going to be including anything for parents or students. That's not the intended purpose for this, correct?
Correct. This is to get official communications from the coordinating board to, technical folks for implementing ApplyTexas on campuses, or to K-12 who are adopting, supporting students. And
so am I missing it, or and maybe this is off topic for this specific, but where is the communication, or how will we be communicating out to parents, or will there be a broad messaging going out for them? And if this isn't the right place, Laura, tell me.
No, this is great. I love to have this conversation here. This is what we're here to do. So our most successful avenue for communicating and reaching students is through our counselor network. So our K-12 counselor network. So with Texas OnCourse, and you'll see on the right side, the bottom, K-12 Communications Texas OnCourse. So we have 18,000 counselors and advisors plugged into Texas OnCourse. And so that is really a strong network for getting information out that will then, reach students and families. We don't necessarily we do not have the same level of reach to direct students and parents. So we've gone through our counselor and advising network because we have the strongest connection there. I think when it comes to, direct student and family communication, we would look for those counselors and advisors, and then institutions like yourself to communicate, but we will be delivering all of the information you would need to know to communicate to those students. So like, for example, in the fall, we had a webinar, which is recorded, and we're actually going to do another version of it just because we know people weren't able to attend, where we run through all of the student experience. So you have all of the screenshots for what a student sees so that you can communicate that to students who are coming on your campus for campus visits, or any other interactions that you have with students.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And team, Molly, Claudette, is there anything that you would want to add there on the direct to student or parent?
I think
it covers it.
Great. So then on this slide here, you see the web page where we'll have the FAQs and we'll have the contact collection. So we will set that up ASAP, because we recognize that there's, again, a lot of communications going on, and it's way easier to have one place to direct folks to. So what we would ask of y'all is to make sure that you're sending this link to your campus stakeholders, to make sure like your technical folks are signed up to receive that information, or anyone else on your team who should be getting the information is able to sign up and submit their contact information to that survey. So as soon as that is live, we will send y'all a note so you can go ahead and share that with your team. Additionally, we have email campaigns. I just listed a few of the topics that we have or will cover. So the data requests, so that was the SIP and the SIP matching, so allowing us to have major search within the application. The payment process, which we will discuss in just a bit. And some of the other key topics that people would be curious about. The other way we're connecting is clearly through these meetings, but also I just wanted y'all to be aware of, we have a monthly meeting set up with identified leaderships within enrollment management across representative of all systems. So there's at least one system representative who will be a part of these meetings. In some cases, there's multiple folks from the system who will be a part of these meetings. This was, we were able to create this group from collaboration with ESEC. And so during the February 2nd meeting, we were able to connect with the enrollment manager VPs, and it was a great group. We had a great discussion about all of the updates and opportunities for improvement moving forward in communications. And so we really are excited to have this just regular plug-in with this leadership group, and hopes that that can help bridge some communication from various levels within the institution. So if you're curious of who, and apologies for not mentioning this. So this is since it was from the ESEC group, this does just represent 4-year system contacts. So if you're from a 2-year institution and you would like to be a part of this, I would be happy to include you in these meetings. They are going to be the last Friday of each month. And please do just send Claudette a note, and we'd be happy to include you in these meetings. Additionally, we've been plugged in through SIPUPSI and like I said, the ESEC group. And we plan to continue to connect through networks like this. So if you have other networks that you feel like it would be a great opportunity for us to plug into, we'd be happy to connect. So also just send that information to Claudette. And then lastly, which I know we touched on, apologies for the background noise if you hear that. But we have a strategy around communicating with our K-12 stakeholders, and that's really through the Texas On-Course network. So email campaigns, and then we actually have hybrid trainings where our team, who is in charge of training and implementation within Texas On-Course, is going to be dedicated to making sure all of those stakeholders have all of the information around the new ApplyTexas. So that is sort of the sum of how we are communicating with the field and with y'all moving forward. We'd love to hear your feedback or ideas for different ideas that are not represented here, or perhaps refinement, and would greatly appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Laura. I think we're ready to move on to agenda item 4. Agenda item 4 is the discussion on the new payment process. So Molly Gully, Senior Director of Advising Strategy for the Coordinating Board, will discuss this item.
Good morning, all. So good to see y'all. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to just again circle back on the discussions that were had with the ESEC group. We understand that our 2-year partners are more involved in that, and give you an idea of kind of like where we are, and then receive additional feedback as to where we are going. We sent out the email asking for institutions to share their approach with us on payment processes. Those are starting to come in. We've received about 6 responses so far. So it'd be really helpful if your institution could fill out that survey. That would let us know what their planned approach would be. We want to share those with the broader community to start those conversations and also help y'all coordinate to come together and have those conversations. Those approaches will be shared with the wider community after our March 6th webinar, which will be sharing all of the technical changes of the new ApplyTexas. And then after that, we want to create an opportunity for people to continue to come together and problem solve, troubleshoot, and connect with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and pause there and just see if there are additional questions or items of discussion around the removal of payment processing from ApplyTexas.
This is Maria from Amarillo College, and we don't actually have a fee, so I didn't really do anything with the survey. Just wanted to make sure you don't need any feedback from schools who are actually affected by this decision.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, we recognize that there are some schools that don't have an application fee, and there's no need to then fill out the survey. But thank you so much for asking, Maria.
Molly, we haven't filled ours out yet because we're not sure exactly how to tackle it yet. So
yes, so we have actually had some people submit the survey with that exact information. That just lets us know that you're a partner, that you definitely need to get connected with the other institutions. You can submit the survey multiple times. So if your first response right now is we're still in a discussion phase, we don't know, that will let us know kind of which category you fall into. And then as your discussions move forward and your plans move forward, you can also resubmit the survey. And then we're planning through the website to have a way of continually refreshing and adding proposed approaches to the community.
I'm curious if anyone on this call has figured that out, what they're doing. Could they share?
This is Mary from Sam Houston State University. We currently use TouchNet as our merchant, and so we have that set up through our CRM.
This is Dara Newton with UTRGV. We also set up a marketplace through TouchNet, and we'll be collecting application fees through TouchNet.
Thank you.
Like I said, we will be, for those of you who just spoke, if you could fill out the survey just so we have that information, and that we can get other people within the community connected. I also want to take this opportunity to just get feedback from the group. Are there other things that we could be doing to help move this solution forward? I will say our development team is here, our ApplyTexas development team, and we are working on a temporary solution that will at least be able for ApplyTexas to be able to display y'all's payment links in ApplyTexas. We are still in the discovery and discussion phase of that, and as soon as we are ready to share anything around those discussions, we will definitely be circling around with that group. But we have definitely picked up that suggestion, and we're seeing what can be done in the short runway that we have before the May cutover.
So just to clarify, we're looking for the May cutover that will have the ability to put the a payment link to our own university payment options on the ApplyTexas application.
So currently the proposal that we are reviewing, so I want to make sure that that I make that clear. So we are exploring the ability to have a page within ApplyTexas that provides applicants with a link to your institution's payment site. So it will be, like I said, it'll just be a page that has all of them listed. We're looking at the design as to how could we make it so that it's easily navigable for the applicants and not just a huge long list of 47 institutions. And then in future phases, we would be looking at making that more dynamic, more automated, and obviously looking forward to a permanent solution.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, Laura, I think I can hand it back over to you to hand over to our Deloitte team.
Thank you, Molly. As discussed
Sorry.
earlier.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh,
about
sure.
this? Molly,
Absolutely.
do y'all have a time frame that y'all are looking at for a permanent? I mean, I know you said, I guess, May for this temporary possible. Do you have a time frame for the other, or?
At this point in time, we do not, because we do have to work within the state statutes and looking at getting an exception. So at this point in time, we do not have a timeline.
But you will, and we'll communicate it out when you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And just to add on to what Molly had shared, and just for clarity, so for this application cycle, we will not accept payment. So while we are looking into other options for subsequent application cycles, we do not anticipate a change to this approach for this application cycle. Just wanted to make that clear. Laura, you're muted.
I clicked it to unmute myself and was already unmuted. Okay, so sorry. So thank you. As discussed earlier, we're moving to items 6 and 7, and we'll resume with item 5 and the remaining items after the discussion. So item 6 is the preview of the ApplyTexas rollover and technical changes webinar. And I'm going to turn this over to Claudette for this one.
Thanks, Laura. So as many of you already know, the coordinating board's been working diligently with the Deloitte and the ApplyTexas team to redesign the ApplyTexas system, which is going to help better serve all of their users. We've been working closely with the team to host a series of webinars intended to inform our stakeholders of the changes that are needed to prepare for the cutover in May and the new ApplyTexas launch in July 1. Our colleagues, Deloitte, are here to provide a walkthrough of the upcoming webinar scheduled for March 6th. The committee is going to have an opportunity to provide feedback on this presentation, which is the next agenda item, but any feedback that's received during the meeting today will be incorporated into the webinar for that March 6th event. So now I'll go ahead and turn it over to our colleague, Julie Kostelanek, and the team. And Julie, let me give you the ability to host. So hold on just a second. Okay, you should have it now. Just let me know.
I think we got it. Let me know that you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Claudette. And good morning, everybody. My name is Julie Kostelanek, and I am representing the ApplyTexas development team, and others are on the call with me as well to help answer any questions and guidance or feedback. We're excited to go through a preview of the ApplyTexas technical cutover plan. This is a high-level overview of how the next few months will impact THECV and IHEs. At the end of this presentation, as Claudette noted, we'd be happy to discuss any of the following slides and note where this group feels we may need to add more detail for IATs in the upcoming webinar next week. As this is an overview, specific dates of these events are still to be determined based on ongoing discussions that we are having between THECB, UT, and Deloitte. We will go through the upcoming experiences through the lens of THECB and the lens of IATs. For THECB deployment activities, we'll go through UAT testing, security testing, pre-deployment, deployment itself, and then post-deployment monitoring. For IAT impacts, we'll go through an overview of how the cutover plan will impact the experience of IATs with planned maintenance pages, planned application configuration and transmission cutoff, user and data migration, and then finally a reminder of what to prepare for cutover. Let's jump into the THECB deployment activities. For THECB deployment activities over the next few months, this covers a range of cascading tasks that include UAT testing, security, pre-deployment, prod deployment, and post-prod deployment prod monitoring. UAT testing is currently in progress and will continue into April. Currently, THECB internal teams are working through test scripts from our development teams that specify step-by-step actions to take in the applicant suite to verify functionality and note any discrepancies that THECB testers may have come across for our teams to mitigate. For security, our teams are collaborating with THECB to plan security scans and security reviews across all three suites of ApplyTexas. Security planning and testing will run through April to make sure that all bases are covered and tested prior to deployment. For pre-deployment activities, we're currently in the planning phases with THECB, UT, and Deloitte for these activities to prepare all stakeholders for a stable deployment into the prod environment. Currently, the pre-deployment activities include a dry run of the prod environment to make sure that that environment, as users go live into the site, is stable and all provisioning is configured properly. While this environment has been provisioned, that work has been complete, a dry run test will be conducted after all three suites are completed with development to minimize any surprise blockers that may come up during full deployment. We want to eliminate and mitigate any risk where we can. Pre-deployment is a collective effort across Deloitte, THECB, and UT. For prod deployment itself, that is our go live cutover. This is where internal and external stakeholders will go through user and data migration from the UT site, the old site or current site, to the new THECB owned site. This is a critical point of the process that is projected to happen in mid-May. Once users and data are migrated and applications are deployed to the new site, our teams will go through a validation testing process to make sure that the migration was successful and that existing users are able to access their existing accounts. Administrators and IATs are able to access their existing data from the admin suite, and that existing counselors are able to connect to the new counselor suite. Finally, post-prod deployment, we will continue to monitor and resolve any post-deployment issues that may arise. While that covers an overview of the deployment activities for THECB, we will now shift our focus for what IATs may experience and go through a roadmap of what the next few months entail for the technical cutover of ApplyTexas for IATs. We'll break this down into two categories, pre-deployment and deployment. For pre-deployment, IATs will be impacted by a maintenance page, application configuration cutoff, and changes in payment processing in preparation for the new site. The maintenance page will be a page banner that is displayed across all suites, notifying users of upcoming site shutdown. This will also note that application submissions and payment transactions will go through a freeze with payment transactions with the cutoff, as the new site does not support. IATs will also experience an application configuration cutoff to prevent any new configurations in the old site that may impact any transmission of applications to EDI and/or NSC. There will be a freeze in the admin suite for any new configurations or transmissions of this nature. Additionally, With the upcoming changes in the new site with payment transactions in preparation for deployment, IHEs would need to prepare and coordinate payment solutions that are external to the ApplyTexas site, which, as Molly has just started the conversation and touched on prior to this presentation. For deployment, IHEs will be experiencing a blackout period where the site will be unavailable to access as our teams are working through the user migration and data migration from the UT site of ApplyTexas to the new THECB site. Once our teams have completed validation and testing of the user migration and data migration in the new site, then users will regain access to their accounts of ApplyTexas in the new design and format. A common question from IHEs that we have received feedback on is, what do we need to prepare? So this slide displays a series of reminders and actions that IHEs would need to take in preparation that have been communicated in the past few months. A few weeks ago, EDI specifications were sent out to THECB with the specifications of the new site as it pertains to EDI. Our understanding is that these specifications were also sent to IHEs. And with dual credit now being a separate application type, IHEs will need to make sure that their institution can collect dual credit as a separate application through the EDI. Additionally, IHEs will need to verify connectivity to TEA TREX. Institutions will need to be in the ApplyTexas system with TEA in order to receive transcripts. This is a net new feature in the upcoming site where student applicants can request from Texas high schools that their transcripts be sent through the TREX integration to the institution. So institutions would just need to make sure that they have that connectivity. The last reminder box is more of a general reminder of net new features coming available to IHEs in the new site, specifically in the admin suite. There's no immediate action needed for these items, but IHEs can know these new features and prepare internally on how they would like to best utilize these new configurable tools in the admin site post-deployment. This includes CIP to major code mapping, rich text or plain text essay formats, and also utilizing dual credit as a separate application type. It's important to note that IHEs have been part of the CIP to major code mapping since the fall. This initial exercise IHEs went through in the initial mapping of their institution majors in ApplyTexas to CIP codes was an initial implementation of this new format. While our development teams have implemented the mappings, IHEs returned back to us in those templates for this initial release. Maintenance of these mappings will be on IHEs through the admin portal and configurable. If an institution is adding, editing, or removing any majors for their institution, they will be able to add or edit the CIP code major mapping on their end in the admin suite. And that covers an overview of the ApplyTexas roadmap for THECB and IHEs over the next few months as we enter into an exciting time of preparing for and deploying the new site of ApplyTexas. I wanted to open up the floor to a collaborative discussion on any items that we just discussed in this presentation. Any questions or comments?
This is Mary at SAM. I have a question. So for the cutover for ApplyTexas, it helps me if I can frame this into the terms or the cycles. So I understand that fall and summer 2025 would open around August 1st for most of us in new ApplyTexas. For spring 2025, are we to hold that back until new ApplyTexas is available to us in May?
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate your question. Yes, so for those application cycles, our understanding is with this initial cutover, it would be prior to the main cutover in July, correct? So as we have those application cycles, our understanding is July 1st is a major cycle upload at that time. These cutover plans would happen in mid-May to prepare for that next cycle of new applications. So where you're using the existing applications as they currently are in the current cycle for this cutover in preparation to then be in the new site, ready to go for that next cycle in July.
So does that mean we wait to open up spring 2025? Typically, we open it up in March. So would we?
Julie, I'm happy to jump in here.
Okay.
Mary, the intention is that you do not need to delay any release of a cycle. So you can go ahead and open your spring 2025 in March. In May, like Julie was saying, there will be a period where applicants are, informed that, the site will be down for a period of time while we're doing that cutover. And then it will be, business as usual. So there's no need to delay the opening until after the cutover.
Okay, because we'll just migrate that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the application was built backwards compatible.
Okay.
Anything that is, currently in flight and any applications that are currently in flight when we do the cutover, when the applicant goes back in, they will be logged in obviously to the new system, the new look and feel, but all the progress that they made will have been saved.
Okay, that's helpful, and I would suggest including that in the presentation.
Great, thank you for that feedback.
This is Darren Newton with UTRGV, and I realize there's probably not an answer to this, or I may have missed it, but we do not know a number of days that ApplyTexas would be down yet, correct? Or unavailable.
That is correct. As soon as we have that information, we will be letting all the stakeholders know. But as we get closer to that, we're gonna, the idea right now is to have it down over a weekend.
Okay.
So that it would go down on a, Friday night and be back up again on Monday.
Okay.
And Julie, please correct me if I'm wrong, if that plan has shifted.
Nope, that is in line with what we have on our end as well. So those are still in discussion, currently projecting to be over a weekend time.
Okay.
And when it does go down, this is Laura Isdell. I assume on the website there'll be information that says this is what's happening, come back on the anticipated date for the students.
Yes, we plan to utilize the banners that are available in the current system to let current users alert them that this is coming. And then, yes, there'll be messaging, letting them know to when the site will be back up again. And that'll happen across all of the platforms, the student applicant portal, the admin portal, and the counselor suite.
So Molly, this is Patty from Dallas College. Just so that I'm clear, because I thought I was clear, but I'm not quite sure if I'm clear now. So once the cutover happens, the site goes down, and when the site comes back up, anyone who applies through ApplyTexas at that point will be on the new portal. Is that correct?
That is correct. So not only anyone who starts an application after the portal, after the cutover, they will be in the new ApplyTexas. Also, if they were, we know that applicants can take days, sometimes months to complete their application. An application can stay in flight for a while. Those applications will be brought over to the new site, and an applicant that was working on their application will return to the new site and just kind of pick up where they left off.
So for us, that means that because we do have rolling admissions, that means that some of our fall 2024 folks will apply through the new ApplyTexas app.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to double check my calendar there. Yes.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is there any other questions or discussion related to this topic? Maria, you came off mute, so I just want to make sure if you had something.
I'm not sure that this question is necessarily related specifically to this, but it is about communicating the changes, making all of our stakeholders aware, because in the list that you provided, there's administrators, there's technical staff, K through 12, but we have a lot of support staff that don't necessarily fall into any one of those categories. Is there any kind of limit as to the number of people that can attend the April 24th support services and onboarding, or can we just like mass email all of our support services that may be affected with walking through students through this new process to go ahead and attend that session?
Claudette, can you confirm it's just the Zoom limit, which would be 500 attendees?
Correct. So there's really no limit. I mean, the limit is really the amount of how many will be registering. If we get to a point, just also know that this is going to be recorded and shared for later viewing. So if, just know that if they don't have that opportunity, if we feel like there's a really high need, we'll do like we were doing with the student portal and possibly have a repeat if necessary, but just know that it's going to be recorded. I think you can feel free to share. I think the most that we had was about little close to 400. So I think there's still capacity.
And if we find, as we see registrations coming in, if we find that we're hitting that 500 capacity limit, we can easily just turn around and schedule, another one back to back. We're making sure that anyone who wants to attend live is able to attend live. And then like Claudette says, we will make sure that those recordings are also made available.
Thank you.
And also, I just want to make clear too that we don't want to necessarily stipulate by role, just because we know, to your point, there are several different roles that maybe don't fit into a specific box because it's different across many institutions. So for that form opt-in, it's really just going to be similar to how you opt into newsletters, right? Like that you're interested in certain topics versus like who you are and which role you play.
Any other questions or comments before we move forward? And just to be clear, we just completed agenda item number 7, which was the discussion and feedback regarding the ApplyTexas rollover and technical changes webinar. And so I think we're good to proceed. Thank you all for the discussion, and the THECB staff will work with Deloitte to incorporate your feedback prior to the webinar on March 6th. We are at 11:03 and have a couple more agenda items to complete, but do we need to take a break before we proceed? If there's anyone who has a need for a break, or if we can keep going. Maybe raise your hand if you need a break. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So agenda item number 5 is the discussion on the new proposed changes to ApplyTexas forms or procedure. This item allows the committee to discuss recommendations to the board and ways to improve the ApplyTexas application and procedures. Claudette Jinks will discuss this item.
Yes, so I'm going to try to do some magic here. I think I still have the ability to share screen, so you'll have to bear with me while I do this transition for a little bit. So this next item really is one that we've had on the committee for quite a while. For those of you who are new and unfamiliar with the process that we had established before, in the past, the advisory committee, in collaboration with our current UT ApplyTexas team, created a form to collect from institutions any proposed changes that would improve the ApplyTexas application system. And then the institutions would submit these requests through either the admin portal, the ApplyTexas admin portal, or through the committee for consideration and approval. Prior requests have been we've sort of come to the table with included language changes, reviewing the order of how questions are in the Applied Texas application, requests to add questions to the application type, to any application type. We've also thought through some of the, just organization of the system in general. Typically, the UT Apply Texas team in the past would provide the amount of time and effort it would take to make those changes to the Apply Texas system. And then the committee would normally work together to discuss and prioritize those changes based on the information that was provided. At this point, we're in this time where we are now bringing the Apply Texas system in-house. So we're still evaluating this process because we now have a product team here at the agency. So we're just in that sort of time where we're reevaluating how we're going to proceed with this process. So while Apply Texas is in development, the team is really collecting these recommended changes. We continue receiving them for consideration. Any changes would be considered that we might change to the Apply Texas system would be considered for after the launch of the new Apply Texas application and for the next cycle, which would be the 26-27 cycle, because we're coming up on the 25-26 cycle with this launch in July. So, but we still wanted to bring to the committee some items for discussion. There are 2 items for this meeting today. One is a review and consideration of help content language for those applicants who are denied admission. And the other, Miguel has brought to the committee for consideration, which is the addition of custom essay, creating a custom essay option. So, Miguel, I'll go ahead and punt it over to you so you can review your item. And as I mentioned, this is for discussion and we'll be capturing any discussion items here and for consideration with the next application cycle. But go ahead, Miguel.
Sure. Thanks, Claudette. So what we were specifically looking at and what we recommended or are requesting is right now with the common application, there's a common question that schools can choose to use, or a school can just have a custom question that they decide to use. We like to mimic that experience on Apply Texas. Traditionally, Apply Texas has, in the past voted on certain essay topics as sort of the ones to go with, and some schools choose to use them, some schools choose not to use them. That is an option for you as a school to say, I don't want to use this essay. And if you decide that you want to use your own, it sort of punts that over to the custom question area. And it doesn't have a similar experience to creating a just general essay for students. So we're in the midst of reviewing everything we're doing with holistic reviews. I'm sure that other institutions are probably doing as well with all of the things related to the Supreme Court. So for us, it's incredibly important to have flexibility in being able to have the right measurements for our particular experience here at UT Austin. So to the extent that we can modify it to mimic what happens with the common application, that's what we're requesting of the committee. And there was another thing too that I added in at the Val submitted, Claudette, maybe it can't be discussed at this meeting, but it was the request related to transfer students, but we can focus in on this one for now.
Yep. And we can open the floor for any discussion or questions for Miguel. While we have you, Miguel, do you want to go ahead and mention the transfer one as well?
Yeah. So the University of Texas system has been having a number of meetings with the technical transfer advisory group, and I guess it's just called the transfer advisory group. And what we've been looking at is, what are some of the things that really kind of get in the way of facilitating easy transfer within the state of Texas, but then also looking for ways to just improve the process. And some of that process involves us being able to better understand what students' plans are, to be able to assist them in that process of eventually transferring, both from a procedural, technical standpoint, but then also from a academic standpoint. The sooner we can get students connected to information that helps them best plan in that initial experience, then there's probably a higher likelihood of that student having a successful transfer to another institution. And so what we talked about as a University of Texas system is really this idea of, can we on the ApplyTexas application have a few prompts that just have the students say, and this is probably the case mostly for two-year applications, to say, hey, I'm interested in eventually transferring, possibly adding in a question that says, I would, this is the institution I'm thinking about transferring to. There would be a desire to maybe have multiple institutions, but if that's technically difficult to do, then just one institution would be fine. And then kind of having the student indicate when do they expect that transfer process to happen. That would allow, the institutions to better be able to communicate with each other to say, hey, here's what it's going to look like for this transfer to happen, and potentially beginning that outreach and recruitment of those students early on. And we have a sort of listing of the different questions on there, but we just wanted to get, sort of an initial feedback of, this seems like something that folks would be okay with us adding in. It would be optional questions. The student doesn't have to answer them. But basically it just helps us to be able to get the information about their intent pretty early on.
Any discussion or feedback or thoughts with the request?
So would this just be like you would put that particular recommendation, suggestion, request out there and we would all vote on it?
So we're working on that process since we now have a product team, and we are working on trying to capture create the form, make sure that the form is still something that we need, and how we capture additional information to help with our product team and thinking through what that looks like in the actual application. Then we'll bring that to you all for discussion and feedback. And then, yes, you would have the opportunity to review and vote on or discuss really what that might look like for the application. But I know this is really just for discussion purposes, because we're really not at the time to make any additional changes with this upcoming application cycle. We want to focus on the launch of the 25-26 application, since it's still in the development phase. And but these are considerations that we want to bring forth to the committee once we're after the launch. But yeah, if you have any feedback you'd like to provide or questions on how it might work, that's something else you can we are opening up for discussion.
So are you just seeking feedback on these specific items, or are you wanting to know additional functionality for future cycles?
So we will continue collecting if you have any ideas or thoughts about how you want to change the system, we can continue to collect it. Like I said, we had a form that we normally would use, but and then I would print out or send out those forms when those requests would come. But since we're in this unique phase of the transition, we're sort of mapping out what that process is going to look like here at the agency, and that process is still in development. So, but yeah, if you have any other items that you want to bring to this committee, anything from, if you've heard in the field or any recommendations, we'll provide the form to capture the information a little bit more clearly so that you can see the justification, how it would be implemented into the ApplyTexas system. Like for instance, on the current form, there is a way to say, I want this or I prefer to have this on the international application or the freshman application. You can dictate what application type you want to amend or adjust. There's also a justification for the committee to review, and in this process would be the product team would also be able to know the justification for the proposed change. So those are some things we're still sort of working through, but
Okay.
that's generally the cadence of how the committee works and then how we're working now with our product team.
Thank you.
I do have one other item. If there's, I'll open it up for further, any last discussion for the two items that Miguel posed. Miguel, we will continue to track these, as I mentioned, through our new process. So we'll come back to the committee to discuss them again once we have a more clarified process of how to document them. But I've been documenting them and sending those over to the product team for discussion and review. So we'll be able to do that. But any last remaining thoughts for what Miguel's proposed? If not, I can move on to another item that we have and we'd like your feedback on. I'll go ahead and move to the next item. So, like I said, we had one that was Miguel provided, and then of course the transfer. The other is consideration of help content language for those denied admission. Some background for you all regarding the if denied admission discussion. So schools, they're competitive admissions processes with large populations who are often denied admission to the school or program. These students will still benefit by applying to other institutions, and they may not be aware of alternative options for them. So this can be a barrier to prevent students from enrolling in education altogether. So what we're trying to work with right now is the question we're trying to answer is how can we support students who are denied admission to a particular school or program in ApplyTexas, and how can they find and apply to alternative education opportunities? So we'd like to note that in the new ApplyTexas redesign, we will provide students with the option to grant permission to the institution they apply to share their application with other institutions in the event that they are not accepted to a particular program or school. As a reminder, this is a legislative requirement or statutory requirement that came in several sessions ago that we're still trying to solve for. Our product team has connected with several of your colleagues and but we'd also love your feedback and involvement in the discussion. So let me see, I think I have capability now to share my screen. So I'm going to pop up the language really quick that we're trying to get your feedback on. Please tell me if you are unable to see that. I know it's a lot of information on one slide. Does anyone have any issues seeing this slide? It's good. Thank you, Laura. Okay, so this is the language that we have as far as the help content that's available. But like I mentioned, our product team had connected with some colleagues. We did want your feedback on what this might look like. As a reminder, this is a priority of the commissioner, and we are taking this information that we receive from you all, the feedback, and we'll continue to conduct additional technical discovery to plan for an implementation that really addresses the intent of the initial legislation, which is about denied admission to a particular program. For this current cycle, however, we're just providing this help content that I've listed here for applicants, and the team will continue discovery to deliver a solution that will solve for this problem. So at this time, can you quickly, well, not quickly, take your time because I know it's a lot of information, but if you want to review this slide, do you see any red flags with the language at this point? As a reminder, it really is focusing on if they're denied admission to a university or college. So that's sort of what we're providing at this point, but we are continuing to solve for the other statutory requirement.
In the first, are you meaning for it to say help the admissions office get a be denied?
Yeah, let me see. I think when I copied and pasted, some things got got cut. So where is it?
Okay. In the very first, what do I do if I'm denied admission? It's like the very last sentence. So what can you do if you get documents that may help the admissions office get a be denied?
Yeah, let me pop up. I'm gonna stop sharing really quick to make sure, see how it reads on my end.
Yeah.
I had to do a quick cut and paste. I was gonna share the document, but I did a quick cut and paste this morning, so I apologize. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, it should say get hold on. Nope, it's in there like that. I think when they were editing, it might have cut it a certain way.
Is the intent maybe about if you have updated test scores, updated documents, that might trigger a re-review of your application status, maybe?
Possibly. I'm gonna pop up the document I was working from and see if you can see that. Share my screen again. Can you see this language here?
What can you do if you get documents that may help the admissions office get a?
But that's a good point. If you're talking about we need clarity on what the documents are, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, no, I think it's get a be denied. That's awkward to me. I don't know.
Get office, oh yeah, so what can you do if if you get documents that may help us get, I'm gonna highlight that because I don't know why that's like that. It wasn't like that.
Okay, I mean,
I think it's when you get a letter from,
when you're denied, maybe.
yeah, where did I?
Claudette, I just also emailed you the language from Stephanie. I think that this obviously has that's just an error with cutting and
Yeah,
pasting.
I believe it's an
So
error.
I did just email you
Okay.
the content again. Perhaps you could just pull that up.
Yeah. If you get denied. Okay, let's see. It's gonna be really small. Let me see if I can move this to the slide. Some copy and paste magic. Okay. I think I got it. All right. Can you all see that?
That's better.
Okay. So it does read, so what can you do if you get denied?
Yeah. That makes more sense.
This is Laura Isdell. The only feedback I would have is in the third paragraph when we talk about the difference between getting denied from one school, but may still being open to another school. I think we're referencing like the School of Education, School of Business. I'm not sure if all students would understand that language. Maybe they would because they've applied to that school, but just something to maybe consider.
So clarity on the reference to this, what school, what it means by school.
If you can find a way to do that, yes.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
This is Mary. I would suggest that on the submit additional support documents, I think universities would, I don't know if it's muddying the waters, but students could also apply for a future semester. So I think we'd still take additional support documents. Anytime.
How would you like?
I don't know. I mean, you know, if they're going to, you know, apply for a future semester, maybe a second, you know, talk to the university about applying for a future term or transferring or something like that.
Are you talking about discussing options for them to apply for future term?
Yes.
We'll definitely work with the team to see how we might clarify that a little bit, that language a little bit, because you know we understand that it can be a little confusing, but this is really good feedback. Anything else that anyone might like to suggest? Okay, so hearing.
I have something. This is Tessie from Lamar State College, Port Arthur. Just thinking about back to explore pathway programs and the use of school or specific programs. Once you kind of clarify that, you may also want to, if you're going to continue to use school, then you may want to change the language in consider other colleges or universities because you use school there to refer to the institution. So I don't want to assume that everyone is familiar with the different contexts that you may be using the word school.
Mhm. How would you like me to capture your recommendation?
I don't know. I think it depends on how you clarify explore pathway programs, because it's used in two different ways. Like that is specific to the School of Education, like specific programs and schools within a college or university, but above it's used as the college or university.
I see what you're saying.
Claudette, we need to clarify the umbrella terms, the umbrella terms of college, university, and school, because we're using them interchangeably, but in the higher ed, a university of will have schools of underneath them. And so I can see here where we're using some of the language of college, university, and schools interchangeably, where I think we need to be a little bit more intentional on making that, especially since the if denied is most likely coming from a specific school. So I can, I think if you just keep clarifying the reference to universities, schools, and colleges, we can work with the content team to help them understand that feedback.
Yeah, because I know that the original intent is specific to the program within a school. So it is a little tricky to kind of address that issue, but we'll, Molly, I'm noting this as you mentioned. I think I understand that a little bit more clearly, that it's really this help content is specific to admission to the school, but then we're trying to plug in the program down here and it's not really translating is what I'm hearing. Anything else? Okay. Well, as Molly mentioned, we're going to share this feedback with our product team and our ApplyTexas team in general to make some of these content changes. We'll continue to conduct additional technical discovery and solicit your feedback from this group and other stakeholders throughout this process. And like I mentioned, we will work with the product team to establish a process for capturing recommended changes or edits in the way that we used to. But like I said, I foresee a similar flow. It's just that effort is going to be transitioning from the UT ApplyTexas team to in-house. And so once that process is formalized, we'll let you all know how that's going to be run in the future. So like I said, we'll continue to collect and document any other additional requests in that way, and then we'll bring them to the team in our future meetings as well. I think that's all I have, Laura. So
All right.
Back over to you.
Thank you. So thank you all for the discussion. And now we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is the discussion on potential agenda items and the next meeting date. So thank you for your participation today. And does anyone have suggestions so that we can, let me start over, y'all. The coordinating board staff strives to coordinate meetings with the committee members as early as possible. And so the committee is required to meet 2 times a year. However, depending on need, sometimes we can meet 3 or 4 times. Would the committee like to discuss potential meeting dates for the next meeting in spring? And if yes, does anyone have any suggestions on dates or time frame?
Or if there's dates that we need to stay away from. Thanks, Laura. Like typically we have a meeting in April, but we know that with the May cutover, that's time that we also have to consider. So feel free to send us dates. As we've done in the past, my Deanna, my support will send out a survey with proposed dates, but we just wanted to get from you, are there dates that we can come up with here, or are there dates we need to stay away from in considering the next ApplyTexas Advisory Committee meeting? We know, I think Easter's in March this year, so it's not, that's not something we need to worry about. Are there other dates that we need to think about, conferences or anything like that? Is a particular day of the week preferred? We know we typically stay away from Fridays. Is there any day of the week that you all prefer?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays work well. It's the middle of the week, and it seems like since it looks like we're holding for a seminar the week of the 22nd and one
The 24th,
yeah, maybe we should look to the last week of April. That way we'd have a chance to digest those if we have anything to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm hearing probably the week before the webinar on the 24th, so that week before probably. That's a good idea. Thank you, Mary. Anyone else have any other thoughts? We try to narrow down, we work together to narrow down a couple of dates, and then when we see who has the most, whatever date has the most, that's usually the one we go with. But we want to make sure to have quorum. So again, feel free to send us any dates that might conflict with anything in April. But I do like the idea of having it on a Tuesday or Wednesday, probably the week before the 24th. It seems like that would be a good consensus. I'm seeing some head nods, so that's good. All right, well, what date does that look like? Hold on, let me pull up my calendar. So that puts us at the 16th or 17th of April. Does that work? Okay, we'll plan on the 16th or 17th of April, but we also will send a survey for any other dates to kind of capture probably within that week and maybe before. So thank you for allowing us to get that information so we are somewhat prepared for the estimated date, but 16th or 17th looks like the date. So if you want to hold that on your calendars now, do so that we can have quorum. And we're gonna do the same time. Does the same time frame work for everybody, 10 to 12? Yep, that's what I thought. Thank you for confirming. I think we're all good. Oh, also, since Laura is gonna get to this point, are there any topics you'd like for us to bring to the committee for the next meeting? We know that this is right before that webinar, and it's also right before the cutover date. So we'll definitely include those, but are there any other agenda items you think we need to note?
Maybe a status update on the items about how we'll be capturing product update requests.
Great, thank you, Mary.
And then I suppose revisiting the denied language if we need to look at that again.
At that point, I think we'll be close to having, because we'll be, the application will be ready for launch. So, but we will, if there are any other things that we want to consider for next cycle, we'll bring them to the committee. Okay, thank you so much. Laura, I'll punt it back over to you.
And our next agenda item is adjournment. So this concludes the business of the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee for February 27th, 2024. If there is no further discussion, do I have a motion for adjournment? Or more discussion? Choose.
Dara Newton, UTRGV, I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Dara. I have a motion by Dara. Do we have a second?
Maria Juarez. I second.
I did not see who said that. I'm so sorry. Maria, was it you?
Maria Juarez from Amarillo College. Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, we have a second from Maria. Members, please say, well, just raise your hand if you agree. And if no, everyone has their hands up, I believe. So the motion passes, and this meeting is adjourned at 11:40 a.m. on February 27th. Thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good one.